Hello and welcome to Dojo Live this Thursday, November 7th, 2024. My name is Kim Lantis, and it's my pleasure to be hosting today and introducing you to our guest, Will Gilbert, who is co-founder of Bodhi. Will, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Kim. Happy to be here.
Yes, it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I'm very excited because we're talking about building the ultimate hospitality platform, the Bodhi story, and how you've pioneered a new business category. And this category is managing all aspects of technology in common areas, guest rooms, residences. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation for sure. I think a product of the times. But as we get started, Will, I understand that you started working in tech at just age 14. Fast forward, don't want to age you here, but 25-ish years or so. And you've now co-founded Bodhi. I'm curious, sort of what has inspired you to create Bodhi, and how did your background sort of influence this
So
decision?
yeah. So the timeline's even a little bit longer than that because I started working, really started in the system integration space in when I was 20 or so, and so in that world, doing the same installs over and over again, using different components
Wow.
from manufacturer A, B, and C, making these systems work together, and we saw the pitfalls in that. One is software constantly changing, connectivity constantly changing, and there needed to be a better way for these systems to be deployed and managed. At that point, all these different systems, there was really no link from the property management side to the technology. I mean, they could go and see some devices, had individual apps and things like that, but that really didn't scale. And it really didn't scale across entire real estate portfolios. And we have customers that own multiple properties. They could be even different types of properties that utilize Bodhi. And the last thing is wanted to solve problems not just for the property management side, but for everyone, the guests included. Since we talked all this different technology, we can provide all the information that's needed for the management side, and then also help the guests be able to use the technology without having to install different apps and things on their devices.
Yes, I love it. So let's talk a little bit about who you are at Bodhi, the high level, the problem that you're solving, and how it is that you sort of stand out from other hospitality tech platforms. I think you touched on this a little. Um, what does it mean to have created a new category in hospitality technology?
Yeah, so it's kind of off the first question. This was built from everything that we learned in the systems integration space. What stands out for what we have done is that in the integration space, you go get multiple components and kind of bolt them together. We don't do that. It's very difficult to maintain that way of doing things. So we made a purpose-built product, a purpose-built platform, really. That's not just guest rooms or common area spaces. We're the only platform that operates that entire property and also their entire portfolio. So it's a big difference than just going around and getting different facets of features and trying to make them all work together. We do the entire package.
Absolutely. And that entire package is lighting, water, heat, cooling. What does this mean?
Yeah, it's all parts of the property. So it could be lighting control systems, water utilization, HVAC systems, audio video systems. So what you'll see at a property, in a guest room, there's one set of technology there for the lights and HVAC systems, and the motorized shades systems, and then the common area spaces in the lobby, the restaurants, the bars. It's a whole other set of technology there. And in the past, for a hotel operating group, they would have to go and call an integrator that did the lighting schedule. Daylight savings just changed, right? And there's always little tweaks you have to make for things like that. You have to call the person doing the audio video schedule. It's all these separate systems that needed to be reprogrammed and tweaked as time went on. With Bodhi, we give the property complete control. So not only are they able to manage and get information from their devices, but they're able to schedule them and really be able to make their own changes without having to rely on others. And that's really important in the onboarding and offboarding different members at the properties.
Absolutely. I think just the efficiency of it, the ease of it, even the idea of, I think, staffing and having somebody who's controlling all of this, inputting all of this. I'm curious about the measurable impact Bodhi has had on properties that are utilizing your platform. mentioning things like efficiency, guest satisfaction metrics. Can you share some of these outcomes, both sort of in the qualitative sense and maybe even lean into the quantifiable side that you've kind of received from the feedback of those who've implemented?
Sure. So, of course, we check off all the boxes of, a smart thermostat gives you 35 to 45% energy savings, just on being smart, meaning, only running when the space is occupied. We can take that further since, we're tied into the property management system. We know if that room is rented or not. So we're able to set those thermostats back to a deeper state to enjoy more cost savings. And then when that room becomes rented, we go ahead and bring those thresholds back to more of a stricter tolerance. And when that guest goes to actually check in, we bring it back to normal. So we go.
So let me wrap my head around this. Rented meaning, let's say if maintenance goes in, or they're cleaning carpets, or they know that's not a guest that's there, and so they don't need to necessarily turn on the heat or whatever.
Yep, exactly. So we're able to, with some lock manufacturers, actually differentiate between a guest credential and a housekeeping credential. So we don't go ahead and trigger that, grand welcome scene and bring the AC back. We also have full audit logs and everything. So, if someone goes in there and sets the AC down quite a bit, we can see that, that happened because of a button press here. We can see what user did it on the platform. If it was someone in the admin side of things. So that's one quantifiable way. There's a whole others. What's it cost to move a guest in a fully occupied hotel from one room to another because something's not working, right? So being able to let the property know that, hey, this data that we have coming in is showing that while things are working okay, the next few days they're not going to be, right? And that's something that is immeasurable on the savings. Same thing goes, for, since we're integrated that property management system, we have smart water valves. So if that room is not rented, why should the water be turned on to it, right? So being able to mitigate some of these issues before they happen.
Wow, I absolutely love that. And it blows my mind in terms of my guess, right, is that it's mostly leaned toward the luxury experience, right? And is that true, or is there a misconception there?
I don't want to say it's a kind of misconception, but it's not, because even in limited services hotels, they can enjoy the same benefits as a 5-star property, right? And one of those benefits could be simply knowing if the guest has left the property on checkout day. I mean, how many times do you just get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, you just leave the hotel, you don't check out, you don't go through anything. And for us, since we're looking and talking to all these different systems, we can do more than just, hey, is that room occupied? We can look at last touch, meaning if someone went into the bathroom, what time they turn the light on? What time did the door open and close? And by having that information, the property then can send a text to them saying, hey, just wondering how the stay is. Have you checked out already? And maybe incentivize them on, hey, if you have, that's great. Here's a resort credit for your next stay. We're getting a lot of requests for being able to turn the room over faster. And so we're able to utilize the technology that we have to provide that experience for the guest in the hotel.
Wow. So it really leans into the touchless interactions that are becoming more and more and more popular, and even a demand, right? Depending on what the guest experience is. We talked about a lot, which is the property benefits from this. And it makes sense, I think, in terms of just business models and who we're talking to. But what about the guest side? Have you heard any feedback from them in terms of what this technology is doing?
I mean, the big thing for them is they don't have to install an app on their phone, right? So at check-in, we send a text, we send an email with a link to control their stay. Starting with the door entry, right? So we have remote unlock features, right? So with one manufacturer, as you walk up to the door, instead of having to put your phone next to the lock, right there from that web app, I can hit unlock door. And the cool thing about that is I can just share that link to one of my family members that is staying there, and there's not all of this back and forth with the credentials. We do tons of different authentication to make sure it's all secure, but you're able to do that right from that web link, and then getting into the room, having discrete controls of the scenes, the HVAC, the lighting levels. I know when I stay in a hotel, the first thing I do when I wake up is I grab my phone, right? And And then from there, I want to either adjust the lights, open the shades or drapes, and then I want to order room service, right? So that's one new integration that we were showing off at the show last week. The hospitality show is our new integration with Oracle Micros, bringing in that point of sale system to our guest app.
Wow. I love it. I love that there's no need to download the app, because that's one of the things I personally, right, dislike doing. And then I fill up my phone with all these apps that I like don't even use anymore. And then my phone stops working as it should. And it's all, I love it. I love it.
And something actually reminded me at this show, we were showing off our new integration with Amazon Smart Properties. And I'm pretty sure we're the only ones that have voice integration for hospitality. I'm very sure we are. So we can actually put that voice device, or the property put that voice device in the room, and you can just say, Alexa, turn the lights on. And that request gets routed to Bodhi, and we know which room that device is in. So there's no personal information being shared. There's no accounts being logged into. It's just a device in the room making a request. It's like pushing a button on the wall. So it's really cool stuff we can do with Alexa, and it works really, really well. We were showing it off in the booth, on show Wi-Fi, going to the cloud, coming back to the thing, to the booth, and it was happening all in real time. So it's a really cool new feature.
That's amazing, because it makes it feel more at home, right? Like,
exactly.
Hey, I'm guessing there's people out there who've talked to an Alexa on accident, and you're like, dang it, she's not even here. So it does definitely make it feel more at home. I'm curious about, you mentioned this, which is super interesting, but are there any other sort of specific features maybe that have generated unexpected results or feedback from the hospitality sector? Anything with all this data you're able to compile that was like, oh, we should pay attention to this?
I mean, really, the feedback getting, like I mentioned on the guest checkout side, we have all of this data. How can we use it to make the property more efficient? Not just the energy savings and all of that, but also from an operations side of things. So we get different requests, and so there's some things that you go, wow, that's a good idea. We can definitely do it. One of the unexpected results, for a newer business out there, we didn't really expect the instantaneous uptake. I mean, business, especially new business, it takes time to grow it. But going to these shows, and when people see how the system works, whether they're at the show or we do a live demo remotely, they instantly understand it. They ask, where has this been all my life? Why did this take so long to get here? And so it's good to hear that. It was quite some time in the making. We did start the software development side of this 12, 13 years ago. And it became the product just a few years ago. So there's a lot of development that went into it to get it to where it is today. So it did take some time to get here.
Amazing. It definitely is then a new business category. In terms of, long-term use of something like this, are we able to store any of this data, like for repeat guests or things like understanding maybe the time of day that they like to wake up, the type of music they like to listen to, how they like the lighting, their temperature preferences, and sort of have those elements preset upon arrival?
It'll get there. Right now, the issue with that is in these property management systems. I'm surprised there are hundreds of different systems. There's no defined data set as far as how to store those preferences. So it's hard to do that. It will come, and then also for especially compliance in Europe and how the data is used. It will get there. On the music side, that's even more complicated. Especially in different countries and jurisdictions, because you have copyright issues in music streaming services. So we've been talking about that now for many years. People want to have walking music, that they that they like, and it'll get there. Just the regulatory side of things needs to be figured out.
Absolutely. And it makes me think, we've mentioned the PMS, but there's also this train of thought that I've heard is that we should be focusing more on the CRM, because the CRM has more longevity. The PMS is only useful when the
Correct.
state is happening. Yeah.
Yep. And without naming people out there, but some large CRM providers realize that, and that is one place of data entry or for us. So that is something that we're looking at.
All right. So we're talking about, privacy. We're talking about PMS versus CRM. Are there any other challenges, or can you talk to some of the challenges that you've faced in developing this sort of cohesive solution in a very diverse and challenging space at times?
Yeah. The one of the main challenges that we have, is we're not just a single piece of hardware or a single system that on an RFP, when a new property is being built or renovated, you just can't check a box for it. This is a new business category. Are we a guest room management system? Yes. Are we an energy management system? Absolutely. But we're really a building operating system, and that is taking some time to have the market understand. But right now we just check all of the separate boxes. In that category that we've created is growing on these different requests. Another challenge, we work with multiple manufacturers. We are 100% hardware agnostic on the platform, and a lot of times, they don't want to talk to each other, right? But we came from a custom integration world, so we were able to overcome that challenge due to our experience. But it is a challenge. People want to make something and stay in their silos, which is completely understandable. And we're the ones that are bridging these systems together.
So maybe not just Alexas, but Series too.
Exactly.
I'm Team Alexa, but hey, okay.
Yeah. Yep. It's amazing.
Talking about AI, and I think earlier we talked about, a product of the time, and with these emerging technologies, both in AI and IoT, everything's changing so fast. Curious as to how you're creating and also staying ahead of the curve, trying to, ensure long-term relevance. What's that look like for you? And I don't know if you have any tips for others who might be listening on how they too might kind of what to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, that's a big effort. So because of our architecture, we have a really unique offering for utilizing AI, and more importantly is the machine learning aspect of it. So we actually have a data science team that we've been building, and we're able to look at say parameters from the HVAC system, right? And the important part here is no matter the manufacturer, right? So you might have manufacturer A at one property, a blend of manufacturer B and C at another property, and for them, you'd have to use, if they even had it, is a single platform individualized to get this kind of data. So we're able to look at it property wide, and we're able to predict the data points that are coming, right, based on what we're seeing coming in. This on the machine learning side of things. We can then take that forecast of the data that we're predicting, and then with generative AI, we can then compose a simple message that it says, "Hey Kim, here's a problem that we see, and here's how you can fix it." We're not just sending a ticket that says, error A2, figure it out. It's here's the issue that we've seen. This is probably why it's happening. If it's not, come in and tell me that it's not, and I'll help you out even further. So it's quite exciting what we're doing with that.
That's crazy. So let me try to wrap my head around this one too. So for example, recently here, this doesn't have to do with residences, but there's a neighborhood in our city where some friends live, where all of the streetlights little by little started to turn purple.
Yeah.
Like this horrible purple light. And I was like, what is going on? And so I Googled and I was like, oh, there's this, I think it's LED lighting that can be defective bulbs and whatever.
Yep.
So for example, with Bodhi and all of this talking with each other, they could maybe detect, let's say, this one's starting to turn very soon in X amount of time. All of your lights are going to be this horrible purple. You should change these bulbs now.
Yep. So we have component tracking and life cycle tracking. So one important thing there is batteries. As more and more devices are battery powered, it's great that they last 10 years, some of them, but if you have thousands of rooms on a property and all of a sudden at year 10, 1,000 things, go off.
The horrible smoke detector.
Exactly. Right. So we have a full inventory management. So that's one thing that we've been developing a lot.
Wow.
When we first were showing the system, it's evolved so much over time. And the cool thing is about being software as a service, all of our customers get the latest stuff as it comes out. Right. There's no resubscribe and all of that kind of thing. And so one of the views that we have, because everyone looks at things differently, their job and their day-to-day operations are different. And so we have an inventory and an asset view, like a grid Excel looking view for an engineer to be able to quickly just sort by offline, sort by battery levels, and create a report on, hey, these 10 devices are at a certain threshold. And of course, we have alarms and alerts that let them know all of that. But it's really easy for them to take a look at that data. They don't have to go digging through the system. If we do our job right, you don't have to live on a dashboard. Everyone has a dashboard, right? But if we do our job right, when you get a ticket from us or you get information from us, there's a problem.
Wow. And I guess there's that balance that you need to strike too, because let's take the battery example. You don't want to change them too early either, because that's also an unnecessary cost when I could have gotten another month out of this or something of that sort. So it's definitely a dance, and the machine learning component is fantastic, I think, to make efficiency, right? And not just for the staff, but economic efficiency.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Talking about machine learning and other things, what are your predictions? Like, what will be some of the next biggest tech advancements in hospitality specifically, maybe over the next 5 years or so? Where is it headed?
So, hospitality isn't spelled HOTEL, right? Hospitality is anywhere someone is visiting, right? A cruise ship, a casino, it could be an apartment, it could be a welcoming space. And one of those spaces that isn't really being focused on yet is healthcare. You see, doctors more and more now are starting concierge services because they want to get out of the reactive medicine and having a better experience, not having to wait in an office. You can just text them and get, a video call back and having that better level of hospitality, right? So I think that you're going to see some really great technical advancements on the app side of things. So in concierge services, when you're staying at a hospital, it's you're a guest, right? And all you have right now is that thing laying next to you. It's a speaker with a volume up, volume down, and channel up, channel down. And that's all you really have. Wouldn't it be really nice to be able to order food and beverage, as per dietary restrictions and all that kind of stuff, right? But being able to have a better, knowing that someone has seen your request, you have a request, that's some stuff that I'm excited. I think you'll see that soon.
I love that you say that. I think it speaks very well to the heart of you as a founder, to the industry itself, because you're right. Healthcare is, in many ways, hospitality, and hospitality when we need it the absolute most. And I think even just the mental mindset, right, of how we feel of when we're needing to be hospitalized is so important too, just to the healing component. And
Even
that's
and even for
absolutely fantastic.
even for the not even for the person there, but the family members that are waiting. How many times you go there and everyone just sitting around a vending machine, right?
Yeah.
And they have a display that's kind of frozen because the software stopped working and no one really knows what's going on. So yeah, there's a lot both for the patient and also the family that's visiting.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I was curious too, because, you mentioned that hospitality isn't just HOTEL.
I stole that.
And I know you did. Right. Well, we're going to quote you.
Exactly.
But I was curious because in your own product, you mentioned, like all elements of the stay, the restaurant side, the resident side, the room side. With the approach that you have, do we have to do it all at once, or can I start with just managing my hotels,
Yeah.
or excuse me, my restaurants? Or what does this look like in terms of like rolling out or scaling up within the Bodhi platform itself?
Perfect. That's a great question. So we actually have a number of customers that all they utilize Bodhi for is for common area spaces. The hotel that opened 15, 20 years ago still has a smart control system there to do the audio and the video and all of that kind of stuff. So we have hotels that just utilize that for the scheduling aspects of those different systems. And then as they start doing renovations, especially driven by local code compliance, you have to have this technology is, it's not optional anymore in many states. You have to have these sort of things. So when they go in to do their guest rooms, they already have Bodhi running the common area space. They can very easily add on those guest rooms. If they're going to start adding some residences, perhaps that's been really popular here, especially in Florida. We can take over the resident side of things. And the really cool thing we can do with that is, these condo hotels that are supposed to be code compliant when they're being rented, and they don't have to be when it's owner occupied. Bodhi knows who's checked in, what guest is there, so we can actually turn off all of those things. If you're living in that unit, you don't want the AC turning back and doing all these things and turning the lights off and all of that. But we're able to do that as they add those different different components of the property. So yeah, you can start off anywhere you want and add on as far as you want to go.
I love that. I love that because we're easing into the technology. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing, right? Your website is gobodhi.com, but it's also growwithbodhi.com. No, it's not a real URL, listeners here. Finally, we're coming to the final few minutes of our conversation today. If you can believe it or not, this 30 minutes flies by. I'd like to bring it back to you personally, Will. What maybe are some of the key lessons you've learned in navigating tech, navigating the hospitality space? Any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs who are looking to make an impact?
Sure. In any business, you have to learn how to, crawl and walk and then run. For us, the early start, the crawling phase was really associating ourselves with other successful brands and co-marketing with them. Different partnerships we have with manufacturers, being able to work with them, and you get some credibility pretty quickly by doing it, right? But moving on, you have to start developing your own stuff, your own feature set, right? And so we started doing that. And then really the last part of it, the running part is, standing on your own. Obviously having these partnerships, but showing your own brand, going to shows, having one of the largest presence there, right? Through the course of developing this, we've had lots of offers to white label it or sell it, and it's really tempting, especially when you're starting up, to do that. But you really have to kind of stay true to your brand and your message. A good example of that is when you buy a car, so Harman Kardon, right? They make speakers and audio products, right? They don't take their name off the speaker in the car, right? It's they add value, right? And that's exactly what Bodhi's doing now.
I love it. How do you go about the partner selection process for you? You're not necessarily naming specific partners, but what are some of the boxes that folks should check off, and what makes a good partner, and what makes a good show? What makes a good place to get your name out there?
Yep. So right off the bat, we don't do anything hacky, right? So we won't go and just integrate devices using unpublished APIs and stuff like that. We want the manufacturer, seal of approval. We want to use all of the published interfaces and protocols. Really for us, what I tell different manufacturers when I meet with them, they want, why do we be on your platform? Well, really, the more that you can expose to us from your product, the more valuable your product is in the industry, especially for us. Because if I know more information about, say, everyone competes in different devices, but if I know more information from your device and I'm able to be proactive on the maintenance of that device, and manufacturer B can only just give me if it's offline, online, they're going to these hotel developers, they're going to want the better information, more information, right? To be able to make more proactive decisions. So for us, really, it's having that standard API, an open API to communicate with them. Either our software can run directly on their hardware. A number of manufacturers where our software just runs right on board there. And then if not, we do have some software that we can put on site that brings everything back to the cloud and makes it all live.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the future that we're talking about and the forward thinking. It's like these hotels might be happy using your product now, but many properties are owned by a variety of management companies. And if they can see performance in Hotel A much better than Hotel B when it comes to renovations and things, they're gonna switch over, right?
Yep.
And it's all about just keeping up with the times. Perfect. Any final words of wisdom here at the end of our show today?
It's really come visit us at the different shows. Schedule a demo. And really, seeing is believing. It's really hard to just explain it to somebody, but when they can see the dashboard, they can see the guest app, when they can see our property app, a resident, all the different things that we've grown to the platform. It's very compelling.
Amazing. Touch and feel. What show will you be at next?
Actually, right now we're in France with our partner with Crestron at Equip Hotel. Coming up in just a few weeks, we have in London, HIX or Hicks. We'll be showing up there with our partners, Reiko and Silent Gliss. And then just a week after that, early December, we'll be at the Fountain Blue in Las Vegas with the ILHA, International Luxury Hotel Association. I'll be doing a presentation on stage there, and we'll have a presence there as well. And then moving into next year, we have all sorts of stuff we're doing. But that's the next few weeks. So
I'm tired already just hearing you. But good luck, folks, and you know where to reach out and get a hold of Bodhi to touch and feel their products, see it in action. And if they're not going to any one of those events, well, how might they get a hold of you if they want to speak, reach out to you personally or directly, and of course, know more about Bodhi as well?
Absolutely. LinkedIn is the best way to do it. Just pick me up on there and start the conversation.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today, your insight today, and congratulations as you are creating, this very new aspect of technology and platform. We wish you and the Bodhi team all of the success in the world.
Thanks so much, Kim. A pleasure being with you.
Thank you. Stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do, I would like to remind our audience that we do have shows coming up next week. Tuesday, the 12th, we're going to be speaking with Ron Assad of Tuzmo. And that will be a take two here on Dojo Live, all about what that means for artisans in the hospitality industry. And on Thursday, the 14th, it's going to be Calum McPherson, who is with Oblo. This is also all about how AI meets hospitality. And this time we're going to be talking about crafting personalized experiences at record speed. So this is all about generating hotel guidebooks and providing tailored and localized experiences. So catch us on Thursday for that one, 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific, as always. And stay safe, and bye for now, everyone.